you feel like the perfect guest for this show. Why wouldn't Illuminated Hearts be on the Mirage podcast about reflecting light? We
Mm-hmm.
are about to reflect so much light. It's going to be insane.
I know.
Welcome back to all of our friends and family and Mirage podcast listeners and viewers. Today is a very, very exciting day because Tori Perko here, she isn't just any Mirage guest. No Mirage guest is any Mirage guest, don't get me wrong. But Tori is the founder of a blog and an organization called Illuminated Hearts. So when it comes to things being illuminated and then that light being reflected, there's gonna be some really fun and uplifting and enlightening exchanges going on in this interview. So if you are ready to have the most motivational and inspirational Monday ever, then you continue to let this interview play. Tori, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really, really excited for what's going to come from this interview. And I mean, when you see how bright you are, how bright your personality and your spirit is, who could not want to tune in and support? Your mother is so beautiful. You post her all over the place. So, with that being said, hi, Tori's mom. Because I know she's going to watch this and I know she might cry. Like, she's another person. It's like, no matter what picture you post, there's definitely a beautiful spirit that's just beaming from within her. And it's easy to see where you get it from. So, just had to say hey to her because I know she's going to watch and love this.
Oh, thank you so much. You'll definitely watch.
Absolutely.
Hi, Mom.
Like, wears a shirt. Hi, Mom. Look, Mom, I'm on TV. Look, I'm on YouTube. So tell me a little bit more about Illuminated Hearts.
Yeah, so Illuminated Hearts was a creation of mine because I just had this like desire deep in my soul to just, I knew I had things that I needed to say that the world needed to hear. And I had all of this positivity built up over like so long and all of this philosophy and everything. And I just wanted to share it. And I wanted to create a safe space for people to feel comfortable being positive and for people to be inspired. So I actually went through a course called Goddess on Mission, and I didn't know why I was going through this course because I'm a behavior analyst and I have a career and I have a job that I like, but something was calling me for more. And so Illuminated Hearts was born after I finished that course because I was like, wow, I really do have a message to share and I need a platform to share it. And so Illuminated Hearts became the place for that. It's the spot where I go when I just really want to share some inspirational messages that I just have come through, anything coming up in my life. I want people to know that doing the work is important and to feel like they can find a spot to be inspired as well.
You are doing a phenomenal job. You know, the times that I've taken a look at your blog posts, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But just know that you can tell that you're walking in your purpose. You can tell that this is something you've absolutely been called to do. So, from all of us out here, thank you for not ignoring that call. Yeah. So
no more of that.
Yes, no more ignoring the call. Ooh, yeah. Girl, we could talk about that.
Yeah.
That's another interview for another day, ignoring the calls. Tell me a little bit about your parents, about your family, about your childhood. Do you feel as though they truly enforced or reinforced these concepts that helped you with this journey you're on?
Absolutely. I sometimes cry tears of gratitude for the support system that I have for me. It is so incredible. I was placed on this planet with people surrounding me that support me in a way that like I sometimes can't even believe. Like I come to my parents just like today, now that I'm like really opening and coming out of my shell and like becoming really spiritual, sometimes I think or discover some really out there stuff. And my parents, I can talk to them about anything and they will just listen and they'll talk with me about it. Like my mom is a little bit more quiet. She's more of just like the listener, but she's so supportive and just always keeping me me on track, like, especially if I get upset or if I'm like, having a moment, like she'll be like, Tori, like you need to go meditate or something like that. So she keeps me on track. And my dad is just really supportive. Like I can just go to both of them for anything at all. And
Mm-hmm.
my upbringing is a little bit unique in terms of like my parents got divorced when I was 5. And so
Mm-hmm.
they broke up, and navigating that was like interesting as a child because both parents had gotten into new relationships, and I was
Mm-hmm.
exposed to many different personalities and situations that weren't always easy. And it took me some time, especially when I went to college and I was no longer in the home with all the energies going on,
Right.
with all the chaos going on, when there was chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be able to step back and see how it impacted me and take the time to actually heal those things that became traumas for me, not to
Right.
place any blame on anyone, but things can be traumatizing in those types of situations. And so that was the first place I started doing my spiritual inner work, was on my child self, because I recognized how things impacted me as a child. And
Right.
I am really just grateful that even though my parents aren't perfect, just like nobody's parents are perfect, I've been able to be really open and transparent and honest with them about the process of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And my relationship with them is so much stronger because of it.
That is beautiful, Tori. So, what would you have to say to someone who unfortunately is struggling to navigate some very similar issues? As you're speaking, I hear, that classic, you're separating, you must not love me. How would you encourage and inspire and try to help someone that might be struggling with that same thing now?
Yeah, the biggest thing I learned is, I would say, 2 things. One is, your parents are humans too. So they,
Mm,
like, just because we come into this world and we have this perception of them as children that they're perfect and they can do no wrong, or they
right.
have this, they're on this pedestal for us, but they're really just humans too, just navigating their own traumas and things. And so a lot of times what gets feels like it gets placed on us, or what gets displaced on us, is their own traumas. And so we have to kind of take a step back and look from more of an objective viewpoint and say, like,
Mm,
my parent does love me, but they're just navigating their own sense of
right.
unworthiness, or their own sense of, being unlovable, or whatever
Mm,
insecurities or traumas they have. And so being able to take a step back and say, hey, like, this isn't really mine. It's mine because it's my parents, but I don't
right.
have to take it personal. And then the second thing that I realized is, and I was thinking about this morning, is that even though as children we get exposed to situations, people, places, and events and things that may traumatize us or affect us
Mm,
negatively, it's not anyone's job but ours to take the responsibility of healing it now. Like, once you become an adult, like, it's
mm,
not your responsibility to decide what happens to you as a child, because that's like what your parents are supposed to do. But there's no benefit to resenting your parents for what situations they put you through as a child. So
wow.
now that you're an adult, you got to look within and figure out how you can heal those things, because that's the only person who can do it. Does that
Where
make
did this
sense?
wisdom come from? Yes, it made perfect sense. Amazing. So I hope anyone that needed to hear that feels encouraged. I do love how you took the path of being responsible, and I think that that is not easy to do. It's very easy to have that victim mindset, so to speak, and to feel as though you're at victim of the things that are happening to you or at you or around you, but it's actually taking a step back and realizing none of it's happening at you. I just realized that I am quoting an Oprah and Brene Brown soul session right now. And it's
You're
one of
also
those
quoting
things.
Tony
Go ahead.
Robbins. Tony Robbins
Oh
says,
my gosh, I love Tony.
life
Oh,
isn't happening to you, it's happening for you.
amen. I remember watching that Brene Brown interview like 3 times because that's one of those concepts where you're just like, shoot. And I also was just thinking about that within the last 24 hours. Have I been at like acting like a victim of the things that are happening around me right now? I need to take a step back. I need to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Life is always happening for you to improve upon, get better at something, be open minded, and learn the thing from your experiences. And I think that that's hard to do if you are stuck inside of a mindset that feels as though things are always flying at you. No, they're just in front of you taking place. It's just life on that table in front of you. And you can take your time and breathe and move all those chess pieces and puzzle pieces around. But you have to be in the right mindset to do that. And I feel like that's what you just touched on, just be
Mm-hmm.
responsible for yourself, for your spirit. Take a
Mm-hmm.
deep breath, take your time, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I need to see it,
Absolutely.
girl. Oof.
Good. And this is
Um,
actually a great segue, if I can move forward,
do
into
it.
why I created my workshop.
Oh my
Because I
gosh,
have
go.
been doing all of this healing work on my own, on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to bring Illuminated Hearts, I'm thinking, well, how can I combine my psychology background with my spiritual side and teach
Mm.
people what I've been doing? And so I created Retrain Your Brain. And Retrain
Yep.
Your Brain is all about taking responsibility for what's going on around you and reframing those things that are making you feel like a victim or making you feel bad about yourself or making you feel like
Mm.
you're bringing yourself down by intrusive negative thoughts.
Beautiful. And I'm glad you brought that up as well. You mentioned college a little bit earlier. Tell me about the degrees you have, but also what some of your college experiences were that continued to feed into the Tori that we see today.
Yeah. So I went to school for psychology and I had a minor in criminal justice, which I
Mm.
always felt like everyone should have a minor in because it enlightened me to so many things that I didn't really know socially going
Mm.
on in the country and in the world. And I wanted to work with kids and I wanted to be in psychology. So I didn't know like what should I do? I was in an experimental psychology master's program and I found this other program that was criminal justice and behavior analysis. And I knew about behavior analysis because my college had it's called the Kinney Center, which was a center for kids with autism, and I didn't work there,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like so many people work with autism. I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. But I found this hybrid online program and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I need to switch. So I
Mm.
went into the criminal justice and behavior analysis master's program. And my mom was like, Tori, just do both, do this and that. And I'm like, nope, I need to switch. And I
Wow.
got into this program with not even enough experience. I got a
Mm.
full-time job and everything fell into place. There's a lot of synchronicities there that I can really go into. Should I go into them?
Mm.
I think people need
Yeah,
to
let's
hear
hear
this.
it.
I was going to make a
Yes,
YouTube
yes.
video about this, but I think people do need to hear how this works. When we
Go.
talk about alignment, so,
Mm-hmm.
how to know if you're in alignment? You can see synchronicities, which is just a series of events that are coincidental happening
Mm-hmm.
in your life. And so, when I knew I had to switch this program, I called up a contact I had who worked at a company called Epic Developmental Services. I don't know if that's important, but anyways, so I call her. She gives me a recommendation. I didn't even have enough experience to be in this master's program. She calls me into her office. I get there and she's like, I don't know why we're here. What do you need? Like, I have this, but this is a full-time job. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to be online. I could take a full-time job. She puts in the extension for the guy who's going to give me this job or hold this job for me.
Oh
And it's
God.
222. And that
Oh.
is my spiritual awakening number that my great grandmother would send me when I started awakening to spirituality. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is divine. Like, I know that they're holding this job for me because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So then they put me with autism. And at that point, I still was like, I don't know about autism, you know? And they're like, you know what? Just go and see how you like it. And And if you don't like it, we'll switch you. So my first day comes, and my student is my absolute soulmate. I knew it from the moment I saw her. And I'm like, I'm staying with her. I have to stay with her. And
Oh my
actually,
gosh.
at the school that I was placed at, the gym had an occupancy of 222 people. And my student's dad's phone number ended in 222. So that is what synchronicity and alignment looks like. And that's how I knew that I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
Oh my gosh. That gives me chills, dude. I just want to give a shout out to anybody that might be watching and listening to this interview that absolutely believes in this stuff and is freaking out with us. But I also want to give a shout out to anybody that absolutely does not believe in this stuff. And that's totally fine, but you can't deny that that's pretty darn cool. Like, that's pretty darn crazy. Oh my gosh. I would have been. So, I'm just
This
going
is
to tie.
why tears of gratitude.
Yes. And girl, listen, I get it. I absolutely get it. And I'm the same way when it comes to those tears of gratitude. There's so much I want to say to you and share with you. Okay. So I do want to tie in the fact that Tori and I were just speaking about preparation for the interview. It's season 2 now. I hope that a lot of people that watch or listen to the podcast know the reason why I started it. I'm kind of at a point where it's like, do I bring up my grandfather every single episode? And it's like, no, I don't have to do that. However,
I'm going to bring him up because when you stood up to go walk over to laugh, the time 22:44 passed on our clock. So our grandparents are coming together to tell us that we were meant to do this interview.
I can't do this, Tori. I can't. She just made it worse, y'all. She made it worse. I wasn't ready.
You guys, we can't deny it. I can't hold back on the synchronicities because they really are too much to even just not notice. When you open your eyes and you start awakening, like it won't stop. It will not stop. It only gets better.
So not only did 2244 pass, but when Tori and I were speaking about our interview yesterday, I was sending her some of the pictures and videos that I want to use to advertise, for lack of a better term, her episode. And I started sending the pictures at 4:44, and that Instagram DM timestamp was right there. I didn't notice it. Tori did. And this part I have not shared with our listeners before. But the numbers 3 and 4 became that much more special to me when my grandfather passed. Because all those years, I knew what year he was born. When they become angels, it hits different. I'm not surprised that I started messaging you at 4:44.
I'm not surprised either.
I do want to take this opportunity, if you don't mind. LaVon McMillan is a young woman based out of Philadelphia. Her 13-year-old son, I believe, does have autism, and she started an organization called Advocate for Me. And there is a book, and she's also working on getting a space where she can live, but then she can also have a separate space for aftercare programs, after school programs, specifically for children with special needs. So I have spoken about Advocate for Me and LaVon multiple times since the podcast started. And again, just talking about these bright, beautiful people that are working with children that need and deserve that extra love, that extra attention. The two of you are two beautiful people that the world needs more of, is all I'm trying to say.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So your college experiences, how do you gain confidence to do a thing? We spoke a little bit yesterday. When did you cross over into that space where it was like, I don't care what other people think or say, I'm doing it? You did touch on that a little bit earlier, which I did not know you were going to do when it comes to that concept of I'm creating a space where I can feel comfortable sharing the light that I'm shining, where other people can feel comfortable going to find that light or also shining their own light. So there's something to be said for creating a space where people can simply feel confident and purposeful. What years in your life, or especially throughout college, because that's a tough time, working up to, I am Tori Perko, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. So in college, actually, I want to detour a little bit for a second because a huge part of my college career was my dance career. And when I was in like high school and younger dancing, I didn't take it all that seriously. I, had fun in the dance studio. I enjoyed it, but I never really tried my best. Like I knew it wasn't going to be the thing that I was going to do for the rest of my life. So I didn't really take it that seriously. It felt like a place for me. I loved to dance. So don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I was like, oh, this is just something I could throw away. I fought to continue dancing.
Right.
But when I got to college, it was really like, I'm really choosing to be here, and this thing is intense. And we would practice 12-hour days over winter break and not get days off like everyone else. And so it was one of those things that if I was going to do it, I was going to be all in and I was going to like do my best. So the dance team was a big part of me being able to take constructive criticism and not get triggered if somebody's telling me that I'm doing something wrong, because we had to, like I was talking to Kira, one of my teammates last night, who Ava also knows, and she said we created magic, and she's right. We did create magic, and we didn't create magic by pretending like everybody was good and not being honest with each other. We created magic by getting real with one another and by, showing up and doing our best every single day. And so I also really want to mention, for some reason, this is just coming into my mind, and it's something that just really needs to be shared, is when I was on the nationals floor as a dancer in college, that was when I really, really, I'm getting the chills, learned how to channel my energy and be in the flow. Like, now I work with energy all the time and I know what I'm doing, and it's more subtle. But when you are on the nationals floor or when you are performing, and I know any athlete or anyone who does sports seriously that has had a national game or had a championship to win, when you are in the flow, there is no other energy like that. It's like a piece of your soul coming out for the world to see. And the passion and the intensity is like nothing I've ever felt before. And we do have national championship titles. We actually we have 3. And one thing that was really important to me that I realized and sometimes get really emotional about, and I want everybody to know this, is that the year that we first won, we were having the most fun. We were enjoying ourselves. And I just feel like that was one of the biggest crucial components to our success, was because we were not really worried about the outcome. We were just worried about having fun and, leaving magic on the floor. And we did that and we were rewarded. And same thing with the year later, we still really enjoyed ourselves. We really enjoyed the dances, and just imagining the intensity that I felt, I just really wanted to share that, if you want to get in the flow, dedicate some time to some sort of performance or some sort of, you know what I mean? Yes. It just feels like so magical. It's not something I've ever felt since in that capacity of intensity. So that is one thing that shaped me.
The only way that you could have had that much fun, so much fun that it took you that far to, winning that championship, etc., etc. The only way you could have had that much fun is if you were all feeling 300% yourselves, confident, honest, transparent. If there was a lack of alignment, then all of you would not have been there individually or collectively. So I just wanted to tie that in. That really jumped out to me. I love that you said it just so happened that that's the year that we enjoyed the most. And that makes total sense, but it's for anyone to enjoy something that much, clearly they're being accepted as their
Mhm.
most
Yeah,
authentic
and
self.
being
So
in
that's a really
alignment.
big deal.
I agree with you
Mm-hmm.
100%. And I want to move forward by saying, like, that was amazing, and it was a pivotal, life-changing moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I still had parts of me that really cared about what other people thought. And
Mm.
it wasn't until after college that I started really doing the work internally. And
Right.
like, as a collective, we were able to get together and be in alignment with our passion and create this magical thing. But now I'm off on my own, and I'm out of college, and I'm like, well, what's next, and what am I doing? And especially as a 20 something year old, we have a
Right.
lot of expectations on us too, and we have a lot of things happen when you're in your 20s for a lot of people. Like, people
Mm-hmm.
might be getting married and having kids or buying a house and doing all sorts of things. And so I really wanted to question, well, what do I want? And the more I dove into figuring out, like, what that was going to be, the
Right.
more I realized I needed to clear some things going on with me, such as um, just really not giving my power away to other people
Mm.
who may be influencing me to act in a certain way. Does that make sense? So, like, if I was friends with somebody and they thought that, going to the I don't know, rock concert was stupid, and then I don't go even though I really want to go because I don't want them to judge me. Like, that's just a total random example, but
I
those
get
are
it
the types of
though.
things that we as
Mm-hmm.
humans do. It's really weird, socially what we do, and we get out of alignment because we have all these other people influencing us. And
Right.
it's not necessarily that they even care about influencing us. It's like expectations that we put in our own head that we feel like we
Right.
need to do to be friends or to be close with them. And I
You're
started realizing,
denying yourself of yourself for the acceptance of another person.
So I really started diving into what that means. And I'm not done. And I don't know if anyone ever is done, because I think there's blind spots and there's things that we can't see that influence us and affect us that we keep on uncovering as we
Yes.
live and as we continue to do the work. And so I feel like me beginning to do that work and me getting to a good place with that work, it took a lot of journaling, a lot of self-talk, a lot of things to get me
Mm.
to a place where I would create an
Mm-hmm.
account and not care what other people thought.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful place to be.
It is.
Because,
Um,
like we keep using the word alignment, but it's true. You know that you're aligned with what's meant for you and only you, regardless of the
mhm.
thoughts and beliefs of others. That's a dangerous place to be.
It could be. It depends on depends on your intentions, right?
Dangerous like I'm doing bad all by myself out here, dangerous,
Yes. Yes.
That's why things like the illuminated hearts are like setting off, because you said to the universe, you know what, universe, give me what's for me, and I'm no longer going to ignore it or take any energy away from it. The universe
Mhm.
hears that and is like, say less. Say no more. Here you go.
That's
And now
right.
we have the brightest version of you to date. And you're right. I love what you said. It doesn't stop. You keep going. Life is what I thought when you said that. Life is so complex and fast paced. It could be fast, it could be slow, it can be so many different things, but the way that it's consistently going to change. What's that phrase? The only thing constant is change. So if the only thing constant is change, how can you stop at any given point, and
Mhm.
think that there is no more growth to do?
Mhm. Right, exactly. And
Always
even when
something.
you, like, say, I don't know, there's always new goals, there's always new things. We are creators, we are creative beings. Like, we're never going to stop creating.
You mentioned retrain your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the other virtual event that you did and what the mission of that one was.
So, all my events so far really have been in connection with Retrain Your Brain. It's been the
Mm-hmm.
biggest event that I've had. And so, I did another event, and I was actually talking with It was called the Sisterhood Spotlight Series. I think that's probably what you're touching
Yes.
on.
Yep.
And
That's
her
it.
name is Debatella. She's awesome. Actually, I'll be talking to her later today
Yes, I was
for
going to ask you
a,
specifically about her because I did see that she was in that description, and I wanted to know what that connection was like.
yeah. So Deb has a group on Facebook, and she has gotten into meditation. She's gotten very
Mm.
spiritual. She's a like minded individual. And I found her because it's called the Sisterhood of What's Next group. And so anyone
Mm.
that might be interested is able to join that group. And she just like, it's a place for collective community of individuals, women, pretty much women, because it's a sisterhood,
Mm-hmm.
and we can just share and connect. And she's very active in the group. She'll go live, and she's just honestly so awesome. I'm so glad to have her in my life. And the cool thing about working with her is that we have ideas and we're bouncing them off of one another. So I foresee
Mm.
us continuing to work together and collaborate in the future. And so
Awesome.
she had me on interviewing me as about my workshop and about the things that I do and how I got to be who I am today. So actually, later today, when we meet, I'm going to be interviewing her about her near death experience. And that is my next project
Mm.
that's coming up
Wow.
that will be airing shortly. So, anyone who's watching who's interested, just stay tuned because that's coming up next.
Yes, absolutely. Stay tuned and get connected with Tori and with Illuminated Hearts. The website, everyone, illuminated-hearts.com.
Yep.
And also, are you going to put more energy into, like you said, a YouTube channel? And if that's the case, we can just search for you on YouTube under Illuminated Hearts?
Yeah, so I don't have my Illuminated Hearts channel on YouTube active yet. I have to
Okay.
create it. Today is going to be my first day of recording with people with
Yes.
near death experiences, so I'm really pumped about that. I also have a few ideas of things that I want to share with everyone about my
Mm-hmm.
process and just inspire if people resonate and just kind of tell people about my process. 2020 has been a transformative year like no other.
Yes.
I know the whole
Yes.
world is going through chaos, and I took the time to kind of go within and change some things with myself and
Yep.
really have been rewarded in a lot of different ways. So I really want to share that with everyone.
That's amazing. We're really excited for that. And I love that the day that we did this interview also happens to be a day where you are starting something anew. With
Mm-hmm.
that being said, from me to you, when I tell you, I give you all of the positive energy, the encouraging energy, all of the light that I can possibly give to you and this new journey you're about to begin. You're going to do wonderfully. Everything that you do, like you're saying, it's in alignment. So when you purposefully are seeking that alignment out, it's like, what can go wrong? And any hardships that you face, they're all going to be so purposeful because of the way that you see life and the fact that it's not happening at you and the fact that there's always something to learn from your experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
the journey you're about to go on, please know that you have our support 500%, and we're ready to see you grow and blossom in this lane. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. We
Absolutely.
can't get it wrong. That's it.
Amen. Oh, I like, thank you. You took what I
Yeah.
just said and shortened it and made it more concise.
Uh-huh.
That's great. You can't get it wrong. And that's so, so true. Is there anything that you feel you haven't expressed? I think I'm on a high right now speaking to you. You said something earlier that impacted me deeply when you mentioned the space to be comfortable being yourself, the space to be comfortable either shining the light or seeking the light. That's another reason why I started this podcast. And I hadn't told you this yet. Wow. Long story short, I was in a space where I didn't feel as though I could be myself, to a point where everything happening in your mind is about the life that's happening around me, the life that's happening within me, the gratitude that I feel, shoot, all the emotions that I feel. And I'm just constantly in this space of paying attention to the things that I think the people around me are too busy or too fast to stop and pay attention to. And I got to one or two specific places where I felt ridiculed for being that person. So, in my mind, finally having the confidence and the courage to start this podcast, this was just me saying, okay, if those people aren't going to be for me, that's fine. I'm still going to set out to do what feels right to me, and the people that are for me will be attracted to what it is that I'm doing. And then fast forward to an interview like this one, where I quite literally can't get my thoughts and my words straight because I'm just so excited to be speaking to somebody that gets it and that understands where I'm coming from and how I might feel about certain things. So, I love you.
I love you too. And you know what? When you asked me
yes.
to be on the podcast, I was so excited because I knew that you were a safe space for me to talk about things. So, and I know that I want to be a safe space for you and to promote and share and be a part of the Mirage Pod. I'm so honored because I love your mission and I love what you have going on. And I'm so grateful because the world needs you to be doing this stuff because we need more light in the world right now. We really do.
Truly, we really do. You can't deny that. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Is there something that you want to be sure to leave with anyone that watches or listens to this interview?
I would just say authenticity is the most important thing to share with the world. Being your true self is going to reap benefits and rewards like nothing else in your life. So if you feel like you're not being authentic in a certain area, I encourage you to go within and figure out how you can share your authentic self with the world more and feel safe, because you really are safe to do it. It's just a perception that you're not. So I hope that everyone in the world, if I could teach one thing to everyone in the world, it's to be themselves, to be their true self.
Yes, absolutely. I can't agree with that more. Beautiful message to leave with our listeners. Everyone, I hope you heard that. And if you didn't, please rewind and listen again. Stop being fake. So, I wanted to finish with something a little fun. Okay. So, I have you here. I'm looking at the list of blog posts. I would like to ask you, I'm going to name the blog posts, and rapid fire, can you give me like one or two sentences that are the point of the blog post?
Okay.
Like, oh, be your own guru? Yeah. Like,
yeah,
we're just
gonna
rattle them off. Awesome. Right. Okay, here we go. Be your own guru.
Everything that you need to know is within you.
Dealing with conflict.
Everyone around you is actually a mirror reflection of what's going on inside of you. So if you're having a conflict with other people, you need to look within you and see what's triggering you and why, and resolve that rather than necessarily resolving it with the other person, because the other person doesn't need to do anything other than be themselves. You know what I mean? So it's not about not addressing it with the other person, but it's about mainly addressing it with you and neutralizing those negative emotions within you, and then dealing with it from a space of love.
How'd you do that? Awesome. Duality.
So it's not all just about love and light. And I didn't get to this place of illuminated hearts by not crying it out a lot of times. You have to be able to face the shadows, the darkness, and that's when you can let more light in, when you have transmuted that.
Can you see my face? They can't see my face. You can't see my face either? Girl, I'm a mess. Okay. Listening to your inner voice.
Just basically like connecting the heart and the mind together and being able to make choices based off of what your heart really says, rather than just thinking about what the logical thing to do is. So if you are taking a job just for the money, or if you are, doing things just because you think that's what you're supposed to do based on societal expectations of you, don't do that. Go back in, figure out what it is that your heart really, really desires, and go for that, because we really need more people like living purposefully and in alignment, like we've said so many times, so that like when you're in alignment and when you're living on purpose, you can't get it wrong. You just really can't.
Dude. A
This is
lesson.
fun. Thank you for doing this.
Girl, yes. A lesson in authenticity.
So when I have had so many moments where I haven't necessarily been my authentic self, and that's why I did so much work and became confident in being able to create my blog and my podcast. And if you feel like you want to leave the job, or if you feel like you need to leave the relationship, or if you feel like, this situation is not going well for you, you need to move out, you need to do whatever, you need to be, just like I said, with connecting your heart and mind, you need to do that, and you need to move forward in the way that's going to support you.
And the last one. Finding your why.
Finding your why. So really, this is just about talking about how people they don't need to do anything. I just want to clarify that you have your choice to do whatever you want in this lifetime. But if you want to really enjoy this lifetime, then figure out the things that you love and do those things. Make those things a part of your everyday or your every week life, make it a priority. Like, don't just go through the motions and do whatever, do the job, come home, watch TV and go to bed. And like, give some life to it, enjoy it, be inspired, find things that inspire you, and just live life to the fullest every day. And finding your why will help you do that.
Tori. At one point, I was like, oh, hold up, man. Hold on. This one's for me. Oh, shoot. Those blog posts can be found at illuminated-hearts.com. So if any of those 6 titles spoke to you, please go check them out. Please stay tuned for Tori's YouTube channel. That's going to be phenomenal, girl, because you have so many gifts. You have so much to cover, so much to publish, so much that the world needs. Definitely follow her on Instagram. This has been wonderful. That was so fun. Like, that was so cool. That nailed was really it. Fun. Now, again, and I say this all the time, I know you guys see why I invite who I invite to be interviewed. If you questioned why Tori was here, and she did not just prove herself by rattling off without hesitation, you did not stutter. You did not stop and think. The girl is walking in her purpose, people.
Guys, do everything at 100%. When you do it at 100%, you won't stutter and you can't get it wrong.
So clearly, Tori is 100% Tori Perko. You are at your 100% girlfriend. I cannot thank you enough for your time this morning. Listen, let me see. If I put you... No, not me. So there was a... No. Okay, hold on. Oh, I see. Yes. Hey, girl.
Hey.
I'm gonna leave all that in there. Like, where is the